enlisted intelligence specialist, later intelligence officer. At one point, I was deployed to Guantanamo Bay, where I worked in the interrogation cell for about 1 year. My final deployment was for the first half of 2016. I deployed as the intelligence director of Command Task Force 75. Task Force 75 focuses on East Asia. So we were stationed out of Guam, forward deployed, but then would forward deploy to multiple countries throughout the Pacific Rim. So we would have forces on the ground in pretty much every country you can think of when it comes to East Asia. And that was my focus. And I had an entire team that worked under me. And so then later in 2016, I got involved in politics. I became the volunteer projects director for a group called Citizens for Trump. I was later hired by Rebel Media. I then went to One American News. I'm now at One American News. I've been there for 2 years. What we're seeing tonight in the United States is the culmination of a very long train of events that began some time ago. And in some cases, it began in the 60s, it began in the 70s, if you want to talk about that. If you want to talk about the original counterculture movement, the movement to subvert America, and the movement to subvert the government of the United States, the philosophy of the United States, the rights of the American people. That movement, that radical movement, made its way into the U.S. government. It made its way into U.S. media. It made its way into U.S. academies, so academia, universities. It made its way even into the corporate world, so where you even have corporate radicals now, or at least corporate radicals, corporate collaborators who are beholden to those radicals. And then, for the next 20 years, they began a program of indoctrination. That program of indoctrination focused heavily on college campuses, so that those same college campuses, which receive government funding, be very clear about this, they receive government funding, they are funded by our own taxpayer dollars to indoctrinate students to become enemies of the very republic itself. So there is a free flow of money going to the enemies of the republic. Now, there's many different types of these subversive groups, and because of that, they've all blended together under the umbrella of intersectionality. That's what they call it. Intersectionality is the umbrella by which they all work together. Okay, and you've seen various groups, various anti-establishment groups, some of which, of course, are political and certainly have a First Amendment right to do what they're doing. But others of those groups are insurrectionist revolutionaries. Okay, this intersectionality, the solidarity between these anti-establishment groups, is key to understanding what you are seeing tonight on your social media of choice, on your TVs, wherever you're watching. Now, Antifa, this is a group that I've studied for a long time. I've encountered them many times. I've put Antifa members into jail. I've personally appeared in court and put Antifa members behind bars. Not many people can say they've done that. Certainly not many political pundits can say they've done that. But then again, not many of them can say they served in the U.S. military or that they were an intelligence officer as well. I can say that because I've done that. All right, now to ask any other one of these political pundits, what have you done? How many have you put behind bars? How many cases have you appeared in? All right, I don't care how many retweets you got. I don't care how many followers you have. I don't care what guest you had on your podcast recently. I want to care, what did you do when it mattered? What did you do when the Republic was on the line? Did you defend the Republic against the enemies of the Republic? Or did you sit back and count your retweets and count your followers and your podcast guests? Because that's, what did you do? That's all I'm asking. What did you do? Everybody knows that. So I'm not here to talk about that. What I am here to talk about is to explain what you're seeing. What you're seeing is the culmination of all of these things together. Not only through solidarity and intersectionality, but you're also seeing it in terms of the cauldron of the pandemic that everybody's just gone through, the lockdown, the quarantine, where everyone was stuck inside. It created a powder keg moment in the United States, especially at a time when certain states were opening and other states and areas were told they had to stay shut down. This powder keg was then ignited by a series of horrific incidents, a series of very disturbing incidents, very unfortunate incidents that took place across the United States. And organic protests rose up in response to those incidents. But now, that gasoline was poured on them and ignited by a group called Antifa. And you could see numerous videos about this. I want to be very clear. Go and look at the video that I posted earlier tonight in Philadelphia, where you can see a group of Black Lives Matter that are standing filming. So Black Lives Matter is standing and filming while there are two Antifa members smashing and destroying a Pennsylvania State Police SUV. Now, why is that? Why is that? And we've got the documented evidence to show all of this. I've posted all the videos. You can go see it on my timeline. Of course, they want a revolution. They're an insurrectionist, anti-government extremist group. That is Antifa. They are an anti-government extremist revolutionary group. All right, they are founded on the ideals of the Red Guards of Chairman Mao and the original Antifa group, Anti-Fascist Action, which is funded by Trotsky into the Weimar Republic in the 1930s. Okay, that was the original Antifa. They were sent to Germany to destabilize Germany by the Bolsheviks. Antifa was the destabilization group. They were the international arm, the militant wing around the world of the Bolsheviks, sent into Germany by the 1930s. And folks, you have to understand what you're seeing here. You're seeing well-meaning protesters and Americans being exploited by insurrectionist groups. Now, Antifa, and I've explained this many times, I'm going to explain it again. When Antifa does a black bloc action, what they do is they set it up in three tiers. Green, yellow, red. Green, yellow, red. Think about this in terms of a pyramid, if you will. Green is the lowest rung. There's the most of them. The greens are the ones that are there simply to protest. They are not going to break any laws. They're most likely just going to march around, chant slogans, hold signs, right? That is your lowest tier, your widest tier, your largest tier. Second are your yellows. Now, your yellows are going to push that line. Your yellows are the ones that are then going to potentially actually organize these events. The yellows are the ones who know that something is going to happen. The yellows are the ones that say, hey, let's all go over here. They're the ones when you hear them, they call alerta, alerta, or they use common terminology across Western Europe and across the United States, North America, where I've traveled and tracked these groups for many times. They're highly trained, they're highly organized. Those agitators you're going to find in that yellow group, that yellow band, right? There's less of them, but they are widespread. You can see them all over the place. They know all the chants, they know all the slogans, and you can hear the same slogan spread again and again. And some of this, of course, is viral, spread by social media. And the yellows are key because the yellows guide the greens. And remember, the greens are the large movement of protesters, which in this case are the group of peaceful protesters that the yellows and the group that I'm about to explain are exploiting. Because the yellows bring with them another level, a higher level, or a lower level, depending how you think about it in terms of criminality, the reds. And the red Antifa, those are the ones that commit what Antifa refers to as direct action. And I've infiltrated Antifa groups. You guys know my background. I've been to their meetings before I kind of got to the point in my career where I was recognized. Now I have other people that go in and infiltrate these meetings for me. We've recorded them many times. I've recorded them in real time and posted it right here on Periscope that all of you can see. So I always have the receipts. You guys know this. I always have the receipts. I always come with this. The reds are the ones that commit the direct action. The reds are the ones, they're the fewest of those, right? They're few, and I want to be clear about that. They are the fewest ones, but they are also the most violent, the most deadly. Did you see the video of Umbrella Man? Do you know what I'm talking about when I say Umbrella Man? Do you understand what that was? And do you understand the importance of the Umbrella Man video? This is key. This is tactical. You need to understand that what you're seeing is tactical. Because Umbrella Man going around dual filtered, right, with the umbrella above, carrying a hammer, smashing windows in Minneapolis. So when the people were around saying, what the heck are you doing? This guy shows up and immediately starts committing violence. Those are the greens. Okay, you gotta understand, those are the greens who don't understand why somebody would be doing something like that, right? Because that red Antifa is there to attack, to destroy, to commit direct action. Because you have to understand that to them, in anti-fascist doctrine and in anti-fascist ideology, which I've studied, okay, those view private property and capitalism as fascist itself. They view our government, our current government, and our system of a free market economy, free to an extent, economy as fascism. They equate that with fascism. Okay? And so when they say they are anti-fascist, you need to understand that what they're talking about is our current system of society. That is what they are against. They are against our economic and our political society in the United States of America and in the West writ large. They are anarcho-communists. Okay, this is anti-fascism. This is why, and I've documented this so many times, that when Antifa went to the Middle East, they were trained, okay, they were trained by PKK. Who is PKK? They are Kurdish communists. All right, and they attempted to set up an anarcho-communist state in northwestern Syria, which they referred to as Rojava. Okay, so the Rojava Revolution, they were sending their fighters over there to be trained and to receive battlefield experience, who then returned. Those are definitely the red band. Those are definitely red band Antifa. Folks, if you think that this is only going to last one weekend, I'm here to tell you that this is going to last the entire summer. And this isn't about the 2020 election. Okay, you gotta understand. We're not talking. This isn't. If you're only thinking about things in terms of Trump and Biden, then you're thinking too small. You're thinking way too small. Because this is not about Trump and Biden. This isn't about any one politician. This is about the republic. This is about the republic itself. This is about the future of the United States and the future of the West. These groups, and by the way, keep in mind, Antifa is never going to come to power. Okay, Antifa is not the ones that take power. But the question is, Antifa destabilizes the United States and subverts the United States and weakens the United States through these destabilization tactics. And who benefits? Who then benefits from that destabilization? Who benefits on the global stage? Well, I think that's obvious. That's the People's Republic of China. Absolutely benefits on the world stage. But internally in the United States and in the West, it benefits socialists. And I'm not talking about, the Nancy Pelosi Democrats. I'm not talking about the Joe Biden Democrats. I'm talking about the hard left redistribution of wealth socialists. And the corporatist oligarchs who have taken their side because they realize that it's a path to power. And if they can get in bed with these guys, then it's their path to getting whatever carve out they want. It's their path to getting whatever special interest they want out of Washington, D.C., out of our countries, out of our pockets. And it's about control. This comes down. I mean, there's no secret to any of this. It's money and power, folks. It's just money and power. It's all about at the end of this. It's all about money. Flynn, Trump. Why did they go after these guys? Flynn, Trump, Roger Stone, etc. Why did they fight so hard against them? It's not about politics in the terms of right versus left. It's just about money and power. It's really just about money and power. There's not much beyond that. It's the oldest game known to man. It's they want your money and they want power over you. That's it. That's basically it. And Antifa are merely the foot soldiers of the means to get there. Right? Antifa are not the ones who will take that power. The Red Guards never took power in China. They were a means to an end for Chairman Mao to maintain power until his death. And so, folks, the question is this. Do we, as citizens of the free world, as citizens of a free country, are we going to ask our elected leaders, our mayors, our governors, and our president to stand up for this republic to stand for the rule of law, to defend us, to defend our system, and defend our families. It's really as simple as that, folks. The rule of law in America is being threatened. When you threaten the rule of law itself, then you threaten the legitimacy of our own government. That's what's being called into question this weekend. And that is what is going to be continued to call into question throughout this summer, throughout this fall, leading up to the election. Because when they attack Trump, it's not about Trump, right? It's not about Trump itself, not for these people. It's about attacking the system. That's why they attack CNN too. You gotta understand, to an insurrectionist revolutionary, to an extremist revolutionary group like Antifa, even CNN is part of the problem. Because CNN very foolishly thought that, to paraphrase Ronald Reagan, that if you feed the alligator, if you're the one who feeds the alligator, then the alligator will be full. And you don't have to worry about the alligator. But eventually, you run out of things to feed the alligator, and the alligator eats you. I'm paraphrasing a Ronald Reagan quote. I'm totally butchering it. Sorry about that, Ronnie. But CNN fed this, and there's no question. But there's also no question that the revolutionaries at Antifa view CNN as part of the system. They view Joe Biden as part of the system as well, by the way. People don't understand that Antifa was originally planning in January of 2017 to protest Hillary Clinton. Antifa thought that Hillary Clinton was going to win. So if you go to the Disrupt J20 website and you go to the archive page of it on the Wayback Machine, you will see that the original Disrupt J20 January 20th, Inauguration Day 2017, the original J20 page was all about Hillary Clinton. And then when Donald Trump won, they changed it to Donald Trump and everything else. But it was originally about Hillary. Once you understand that, once you understand why the Antifa group in Portland attacked the Portland Democrat office, then you see. But you're already seeing the Democrats fall into the same trap again and again. Because Joe Biden's own staff said that they are going to pay the bail money to a group that goes to assist those people who are arrested in Minneapolis. And we already know that many of the people who were arrested were left-wing anarchists. That's Antifa. So Joe Biden's staff, his campaign staff, is going to pay the bail for Antifa. That means the Joe Biden campaign is now a money laundering system for Antifa. That when you donate money to Joe Biden, that Joe Biden then takes that money, pays his campaign staff uses that money, and it goes to Antifa to pay for bail. So it's a money laundering operation. That's how the money laundering operation works, right? And now Joe Biden probably doesn't know that, by the way. I really don't think he does. But it's very foolish and short-sighted, because what he's done is he's hired people who, by the way, I don't think they're stupid. I think they know exactly what you're doing. Does it sound far-fetched? It's in Reuters. It's literally a Reuters article. They've got the guy on quote. They have an actual quote from Andrew Bates of the Joe Biden campaign saying that he is going to pay the bail. Go look it up. Fine. Don't believe me. Don't believe me at all. Go look it up. Saying that they're going to pay the bail for Antifa, for the people who are arrested in Minneapolis. Go look it up. Because they think they can feed the alligator. They think that if they feed the alligator will work for them. Do you understand what they're doing? Do you understand how they're playing with fire? All of the elected Democrats right now are playing with fire. All right? And I say this as a warning, by the way, to them as a party and to them as just individuals, that alligator will turn on you eventually. It will happen. Look what they did to CNN. CNN for years carried water for Antifa. Remember, peace through violence. Antifa seeks peace through violence. That's what CNN said. Chris Cuomo, tweet still up. He compared Antifa to our brave boys at the beaches of Normandy. June 6, 1944, D-Day. That's what Chris Cuomo said. That's what Chris Cuomo said. He compared Antifa to American soldiers and Canadian soldiers who were also there. And by the way, got to point it out because it happened. There were also Polish soldiers there as well. At Normandy, 1944. When they stormed the beaches of Northern Europe to free the people of that continent from totalitarianism. And Chris Cuomo of CNN says that's the same thing as a violent extremist insurrection group. Never apologized. Never once apologized. Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. And we do. We do forgive them, and we pray for them. The same way that we pray for CNN, we pray for the employees of CNN. I pray to God that not a single member of the CNN staff down there in Atlanta that came under siege by Antifa this weekend is safe. I absolutely pray because, folks, I'm the guy who led the anti-political violence movement starting in 2017. I've still been the leader. This is the peace movement I'm trying to talk about here, folks. We stand for peace and love. I was at the DNC in the middle of Antifa burning the streets of Philadelphia and far left agitators chanting and attacking the barricades in Philadelphia. And I grabbed a microphone, a bullhorn that was next to me, and I started singing "Give Peace a Chance" by John Lennon. And I sang that same song 3 years ago, right outside the White House, in Lafayette Park. The exact same park, just a few miles down the road from me, there's violence and rioting and the destruction of Secret Service vehicles. And I really mean that, by the way. I really mean that. All we are saying is give peace a chance. I'm not saying agree with Jack Posobiec on politics. I'm not saying agree with Donald Trump on politics. I'm not saying you have to follow my agenda and you have to abide by every word. Please challenge me, disagree with me, debate me, make me stronger. That's how we make America better. When we face challenges, like the challenges that we faced over the past few weeks, over the challenges that this country has faced since 1776, since its inception, we face them together. We face them together. That's all I ask. It's all I ask is that we face them together. All I ask is that we face them together. Is that so much to ask? Really, is that so much to ask? Let's face them together. Let's work together. Let's come up with systems that make sense, with policies that make sense. If we've got a problem with the way that police are acting, then let's figure out a way that we want police to act and work towards educating everyone about what we want as a society. Isn't that what we want? Isn't that what we want? I'm going to share this out again. Ooh, already at the 30-minute mark. Feels like I just started. It's been in my head. It's been bubbling up. It's been bubbling up for a couple of days as I've been watching all this. because I want to talk about something else. I want to talk about something very specific. And no, this is not white supremacists out there. The amount of gaslighting that they're trying to do right now by claiming there's Russians and white supremacists doing this, it shows you everything that we've said about the media being in league with Antifa. Or it shows you everything we've said, because all Antifa does is lie. Keith, Attorney General of Minnesota, had the Antifa handbook. Why do you think Keith Ellison is blaming this on white supremacists and the KKK? Why is Keith Ellison out there saying this is the KKK? Because Keith Ellison has read the Antifa handbook. He knows what the tactics are. This is Bill Ayers. This is Saul Alinsky. Attack, 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 lie, lie, lie. But folks, there's something that I need to talk about, because we talk a lot about tactics. We've talked a lot about where we've come from. We need to talk about where we're going. But in order to understand where we're going, we have to understand where we came from. Folks, the city of Philadelphia is burning tonight. The city of Philadelphia, where I grew up, went to school, North Broad, worked at 16th and Green. A lot of nights walking up and down South Street. It's my town. Electric Factory, man. That was my spot. That was absolutely my spot. The Electric Factory, the TLA, the Khyber, the Trocadero. Grew up going to the vet with my dad, Veteran Stadium, until they blew it up. Season tickets to the Phillies. That's my childhood. But it's more than just personal to me. Because Philadelphia in 1776 represents the birth of the United States of America. That is where the Declaration of Independence was written by Thomas Jefferson. It was then lightly edited by Benjamin Franklin, John Adams. It is where they declared their rights, not just in terms of separating with Great Britain and the United Kingdom, but also their rights as free men, endowed by their Creator with unalienable rights. And you know what those are. It was that same town where the Liberty Bell itself was rung, where that Liberty Bell still stands. It's across the street now from Independence Hall. You can go visit it. I wouldn't go recommend visiting it tonight, though. And then a few years later, that same place, that same room, the very same room where the Declaration was signed, was then later used for the Second Continental Congress to put together what we call the United States Constitution, our Bill of Rights, our system of government. From Philadelphia, folks, I grew up with nothing but the utmost respect and reverence for our sacred founding documents. And now, just steps away from that history, the city's on fire. just steps away from them, the city is on fire from people who seek to tear down everything our founding fathers did. And so understand, please understand, why it is that they've targeted Philadelphia so strongly in this. Understand why, if they pull out the keystone, why is Pennsylvania the keystone state? Why is Pennsylvania the keystone state? Because Pennsylvania is the keystone. Philadelphia, the keystone. It was the center of all the 13 colonies. Pennsylvania was the keystone. That is why the enemies of the Republic have focused on Philadelphia now. Because if they can separate us from Philadelphia, then they can separate us from our history. And if they can separate us from our history, then they can separate us from everything that we have. And that is why I implore the mayor of Philadelphia and the governor of Pennsylvania. Guys, I know we disagree on politics. We are not in the same party. We do not look at politics the same way. But I really hope that we can agree on this. I hope that we can agree that we need to uphold our system of government. Because if we don't have that, if we can't agree on that, and if we allow these people, these criminals, to tear away our rule of law, then we're left with nothing else. And we're left at the mercy of those who would subvert, overthrow, and replace our system with something far darker than we currently have. Nobody wants to go down that road. The Republic stands because rule of law stands. If you do not have the rule of law, you do not have the Republic. If you do not have the rule of law in the city of Philadelphia, where our rule of law was created and from which it stems, then the Republic is undone. Then the Republic is undone from the specific streets, the very land where it was first laid down. And it's no less than, that's the stakes, folks. That's the stakes. And if you think that tonight is bad, then you ain't seen nothing. We can see so many of us that have been following this for a few years now, and it surprises me so much. It surprises me so much when I see people say, "Oh, I can't believe what I'm seeing. I can't believe what I'm seeing. I can't believe that it would get this bad. I can't believe it would get this bad." And I'm like, we've been telling you all along that this was coming. We've been telling you all along, shouting from the rooftops in very clear, concise language about what was to happen. We knew, right? We knew it would happen if we gave these groups a free hand. We knew. And we told you this would happen. All right. And this, I don't know, maybe it's foresight is a blessing and a curse, right? Folks, I'm the guy who all the way back in 2006, when everybody was saying, on the war on terror. The war on terror is the existential fight. Bush administration, they said, we need to do this. And I said, no, it's not that. I said, 2006, I said, we need to focus on China. We need to focus on China. the rise of the People's Republic. Because what China represents to our international system, the subversion of that international system, bodes disaster for the United States of America. And so in 2006 was the first time I traveled to China. I started learning Mandarin. I moved there in 2007. I stayed there for 2 years learning Mandarin, learning the international system of business, to understand how China worked when nobody was talking about China 15 years ago. That's how long I've been in this. That's my skin in the game. That's my skin in the game. That was the foresight I had on China 15 years ago. And that's why I've learned to speak fluent Mandarin. That's why I've built the connections that I have with the Chinese Christians, the underground Christians in China. And some people you have heard the story about how Tanya and I met and how it relates to the underground Christians in China. It's my wife Tanya, how I met. Who's watching? She's in the other room right now. And understand the connections between all of this. Understand the connections between all of this. And there's a reason that I get the smears that I get. There's a reason that I get the attacks that I get. And there's a reason that, my Wikipedia page is number 13 on the all-time most contested and disputed articles on all of Wikipedia. Because they understand the threat that I pose as an individual to their agenda and to their system and to their program. I'm serious, by the way. Go look it up. My Wikipedia page is right. What is it? It's right next to the Uyghur concentrate. Last time I checked, it's as disputed as the Uyghur concentration camps and the Syria gas attacks. Literally next to the Syria gas attacks. So in terms of Wikipedia, apparently I'm as controversial as a literal accusation of a war crime. Had I known what I was getting into in 2015 when I said that I was going to support Donald Trump, I thought I was just supporting a guy for office. Little did I know. Little did I know. Whatever. This isn't about me. This isn't about me. This isn't about me. I'm just trying to get all of you to understand what you're looking at when you watch all these crazy videos. I'm trying to get you to understand folks, we are living through a chapter, several chapters in the history books of the future. Do you understand that? We are living through the history books of the future right now, today, right here. The entire period of time, 2015 to 2020. And the question is, how will those chapters end? How will those chapters end? Will it be that America was destabilized and the Republic was lost? Or will it be that America was destabilized, the people rallied, and the Republic was saved? It's two roads. It's pretty, actually kind of a binary situation, right? It literally is one or the other. And someone says it depends on who writes them. Yeah, it does. That's literally my point. That's literally the point that I'm trying to make right now, right? It does depend on who writes them. So, what do you want, folks? What do you want? And meanwhile, by the way, we sent 2 Americans to space today. We spent 2 Americans to space today. At the same time, and all this is going on. Do we want this to be do we want to be the country that colonizes the moon? The first country that puts men on Mars? Do we want that to be us, or do we want that to be China? All right? There's two paths, and you can see it depending. You can watch the riots, or you can watch the space launch, right? But you got to watch them both. You got to watch them both, or you're not being intellectually honest. You got to watch them both, or you're not being intellectually honest. If you're only paying attention to one and not the other, then you're ignoring half the question. Because it's not two movies on one screen. It's two paths. It's two paths. Do we want to be the country that stands up for the rule of law and stands for progress, and actual progress, by the way, not social justice, cultural Marxist progress? I mean, like innovation and technological progress towards the stars, towards setting up a permanent emplacement on the moon that we will use to send men to Mars eventually. That's actual progress. It's actual progress. And I know, look, you guys know I'm a big critic of Elon Musk and a huge critic of the amount of government money that he's taken. And the fact that he's, I said, what did I call him? A glorified government employee. That's my critical part. But at the same time, I'll give him this. The guy's a believer in America, and he's a believer in actual innovation. And that's key. That's key. That's key. But SpaceX is not a private company, and debate me on that. But that's another Periscope. They're a private company in the same way like Lockheed and Boeing are private companies. Okay, come on, please. You can't be in that much in bed with the government and realistically call yourselves a private company. That's all I'm saying. But it's okay. It's okay. We're on the same side. I just, what can I say? I'm a stickler for details sometimes. Stand up for the truth. Anyway, folks, we've been on this Periscope for a long time. But there's going to be riots. There's going to be violence. There's going to be a ton of that and more. And it's going to go on throughout the summer. And it's not a question of dealing with each incident as it comes. Take yourself back and raise yourself up to the 50,000-foot level, or the level of the ISS, where our 2 astronauts are headed tonight. They won't even get there until the morning. Do you support the rule of law, or do you support mob justice? It's really as simple as that. Do you support the rule of law, or do you support mob justice?